Okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to start to make our own design of a snowflake. And so we're going to have to set up our paper to be able to get that design on there. So what I want to do is I want to go to the top of my sketchbook. I'm using the same sketchbook that you guys would have. And I put my ruler up against the binding here. And we're almost at about 8 inches, so that's pretty good. I'm going to make a little mark at the 4. And then I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to butt it up against the edge, and we're about at 8, so I'm going to hit 4 there as well. Now, I don't think my whole sketchbook will fit in here. Maybe I'll turn it sideways so that we can see it a little bit better. So I've got my 2 4-inch marks that I'm going to line up my ruler with, all right? And then I want to make sure my 0 line is at the end, all right? And we're almost at 11 inches here. I guess we are at 11. And so half of 11 would be 5.5. So I'm going to make a line at the 5.5, and then, or going across my ruler, and then I'm going to go up from the 5.5 from there to make a little mark. So this is kind of where I want to start my sketch of my snowflake, all right? And then I'm going to give myself some boundaries here. So our square that we're going to be using is 3 inches by 3 inches. And so I'm going to put my 3-inch mark right where the X marks the spot. And I'm just going to go out to the 0 line. All right? And then I'm going to go the opposite way to the 6. And I'm going to do the other way. Put my 3-inch on the X marks the spot. Go up to the 0 line. And then go down to the 6, and that gives me a nice area to work in. All right. Now what's going to happen is we're going to design this space right here. We're going to design half of it, and then we're going to repeat it over and over again to get our snowflake design. So I'll be giving the class a 3-inch by 3-inch square. All you really need to do is get some copy paper and just cut a nice square out from there. All right. And then what we want to do is we want to fold that square in half, all right, so that it goes corner across corner, all right? So we should have a little triangle shape when we're all done, okay? Little football. And then what we're going to do is we're going to design just half of this space. All right, so I'm going to move this out of my way here, and I see my line in here, so if I actually want to separate it with some sort of line, I can do that. The ruler will be a great tool in this. And all I'm doing is going to work on one half, so I'm going to pick one side or the other to start with my design. And so I'm just going to start simple. In fact, the one I'm going to show you in a minute is going to be a little bit different, but I'll get us started here. So maybe I'm going to go here and here, and then I can go inside a little bit. And I'm just going to start working on some designs. And they don't have to be with a ruler. If I wanted to go in with some type of organic shape, I could do that. Maybe I have some areas that are coming away from it. My example had a lot of circles in it for whatever reason. And so, like I said, we're only working on designing the half of our little 3-inch by 3-inch. So it's not a very big area, but what we're going to do from here is we're going to take this and we're going to fold it in half, and you're going to want to have a space where you can make a little bit of mess. So I got the back of the sketchbook. So this one's not done, but let's say we fold this in half and go right on our line there. And then from our drawing, what we're going to do is we're going to start to scribble on the back. Now you have to be careful here because obviously we're going to go off the page, but you don't want to go so fast that you end up ripping the paper. All right. And I went on the side that I was drawing on, so on the other side of this is where the drawing is at, but both sides will work. I think this side's a little bit better. So I'm just going to go and fill in some of it. I know that I should have more of a design going around in here, and so you can cover the whole thing but you're probably going to do it a couple times. What this should do is it should push your design, I don't know how well we can see that, but it pushed my design onto the other side. That's going to help make things a lot more symmetrical, all right? So I can go back in with a ruler if I wanted to and touch these up, because they're just going to be a light line, all right? I can go in and add those lines back in, and I've got my organic lines, but this will help us get a nice balance for our snowflake, all right? Now what's nice about this is, as you're going, you can kind of pick and choose. Now I start to see what this design looks like. I can go and work on this half again, and maybe it's going to be something that connects over to this side, and I can draw that in. And so I can add to this. Maybe I'll have something that comes up here, all right? And then I can push this back over, and I can scribble on the back again in those spaces, and it will start to push that design, and it will start to help me balance those things out, all right? Now, if you're having trouble seeing it, it's going to be pretty light, all right? I can see where my lines are at. I'm not sure how well they're showing up on camera, but I know they're going to be there, all right? If you're not sure, then maybe these need to be a little bit darker on your half, and then that way when you push it over, it'll transfer that pencil right onto there, all right? So, I've worked with mine, all right? Here's my design that I've created. And then I want to make sure that there's pencil on both sides. So before, we only had the halfway. Now you got to make sure that they're on both edges, all right? So I've covered that in. Again, I'm kind of using the side of my pencil and not the point. It covers a little bit more area, and I'm less likely to rip it. With the point, sometimes it can get to be pretty sharp. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and there was one area that we started in the corner. So for instance, on this one, I want to pick this space to be my corner. All right. I guess I could go the other way if I wanted to, but this is really projecting out, and so we want to have lines that are projecting out from the center. All right. So with mine, I'm going to put it in the corner, and then I'm going to make sure that the edges are lined up. And then I'm going to start to trace this. Now I have to hold this steady, all right? I can use my ruler to help me with some of that, all right? And I can start to trace my lines. And what this is going to do, instead of redrawing it, you are just going to be pushing your copy down onto the paper, all right? And so I will start freehanding all that. And if you're not sure and you want to look at something, make sure you hold a corner down, and that way you can peel it back up, and you can start to see what I've started to trace. So this is going to end up tracing this whole thing on there. So as you get going, what we want to do is we want to rotate this so that it is in a radial balanced design. That means that this centerpiece is going to be the center in all of these. So I'll do these real quick right here. So I've got my center spikes here. And, oh, come on. There we go. And when I go to rotate them, I want to make sure that those center spikes are always in the middle. And so I've worked on my other one here. And this is what you'll get when you're all done. Now let's say you picked it up and you're like, oh man, I forgot to do a circle. As long as you line it back up and make sure everything is in the proper space, then you can go back in and fill in anything that you've missed. But you definitely want to make sure that you're rotating it in a nice radial balance. All right. Here and here. And then, once you've got that in, this paper can only go so far. So if I want to add, like I don't like the way that it ended here in the corners. And I don't like the way it ended here on these points. So what I want to do is I'm going to go in and I may either finish them off so that they are a little straighter. All right. Maybe it's got more of a point to it. Or maybe I can find something that I can trace so that it has a little bit of a circle to it, okay? And I can finish them up that way. So you just want to make sure that whatever you do for one, that you do the same for all the rest. Same thing on my corners, all right? We don't necessarily have to go over them again to make them darker. If you can see them, then they'll be pretty good. But if they're pretty light in some spaces, then you want to go and touch those up just a little bit so that they show up, all right? So this is as far as we're getting this week. Next week, I'll show you how we're going to finish up the snowflakes, okay? We'll see you next week.